Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I've only got about 30 minutes because I'm recording this on my phone, so I wasn't sure where to go because I had so many things I wanted to talk about. Some of the subjects I wanted to talk about. Elephant in the room. I wanted to talk about differences of energies and the merge that's going on. I wanted to talk about all kinds of things. So I'm just going to go into a little flow like I usually do, and then it'll transition into kind of an energy update. I might do 2 separate videos. We'll kind of see what happens. And I feel that this is going to be about centeredness, being centered. I'm hearing centered versus self-centered. Then I'm hearing egocentric, ego-centered. Whew. Okay. So as we find our center, as we find our space where we feel balanced, where we feel not too high and not too low, we feel ourselves move into a field of feeling, a field of balanced equations, if you will. A certain sense of equality comes into our very feeling. As we feel this, we are able to let go of certain attributes that would not be so equal, if you will, that would create a certain sense of unease and imbalance. For we bring ourselves back into who we truly are. We bring ourselves back into know thyself. For as we go within, as we center our essence, we focus on our very essence, we focus on our very beingness, if you will, we find ourselves, I'm hearing dislocating, I hear all kinds of things. The energies are all over for me today, so it's going to be one of those sharings. But essentially what I'm seeing is if we're getting centered, all that stuff that's out around us, that's trying to pull us in all these different directions, that's no longer our location. Our location comes back to home base. That was the dislocation. It was a play on words. We find our center channel, if you will. We find our home base. We find our center of alignment. Play on words. I'm hearing our ally, like our allies, the shamans talk about. I'm hearing we line up with source and connect to Mother Earth. I'm hearing we step out of line, of being in a line, waiting on something. It just happens because we bring ourselves into that centered space. Some may call this heart-focused currency, if you will. Some may call this a balanced perspective. Yet, we recognize that in a centered space, there is no need to, I'm hearing, make our bodies busy. There is no need to be busybodies. There is no need for us to busy ourselves with other bodies, if you will. For we focus on our own body. We focus on our one true body. So I'm seeing that bringing into oneness, the causal, emotional, etheric, physical body, and recognize that that's all connected. And when we're focused on that, we're not worried about what everybody else is doing. we find ourselves looking out from the center, and I'm hearing it takes us out of that we come into a gravitational pull, which is actually being centered, centripetal, right? Centripetal. I said this in the other video that I did. It pulls us into that framework where we can see things more clearly. We don't get wrapped up in other people's bodies, frameworks. And what do these bodies consist of? For within our own framework, we hold many different memories, many different abilities. We hold within us many different concepts, and we may hold within us many different perspectives based on our own experiences, based on the experiences that we have had within this body through this lifetime, based on who we have come into contact with, what occupations we have held, what conversations we have held, what activities we have participated in. Perhaps we have experienced many different, I'm hearing so much. Perhaps we have experienced many different experiences, all wrapped up in this one lifetime. And we do not even go to the other experiences right now in this particular sentence that would include beyond this life, if you will. I'm hearing life sentence. This is not to be taken in a negative way. Play with the words. For we have many lifetimes in many different realms and many different realities and many different versions of our existences. But let us focus right now just on this one. For within our body, we hold within us a collective, if you will, a collection of all of the stories, all of the dialogue, all of that which it is we have played with, so to speak. And if we visualize ourselves as this bubble, this egg, if you will, that holds within it all of this understanding from just this lifetime's experiences, plural, we recognize as we look out of our eyes, as we look out of our eyes, through our eyes, as we see into the eyes of another, that held within their own bubble and within their own architecture and within their own life of experiences is a completely separate individual, unique in their own bodily needs, unique in their own individual body functioning capacities. For each individual holds within themselves their own blueprint and architecture, just as each individual has a unique fingerprint, if you will. We do not share fingerprints, although we are all of the same skin suit technology from one perspective. Each of our technology holds within it a separate memory bank. And yes, one may say we have access to the memory bank, to the Akash, to the connection to our source, the main frame, if you will, the motherboard, the main brain connection, collective consciousness in a unified field. Yet for this particular conversational piece, let us recognize for a moment that not all beings are aware that they are tapped into that. Some beings are checked out completely from that particular connection. I'm hearing, so for shits and giggles, Let's just focus on the individual aspect right now. For we are each collectively embodied in our own individual bodies. And if we were to all move in one fail sweep, if you will, in one collective motion, and we all linked up at the same time, to the same motherboard, to the same experience in one moment, what would become of us? What about our individual blueprint, the agreements that we had decided and chosen we would like to make manifest, the experiences that we chose to have in this birth, so to speak, in this lifetime, our own freedom, if you will, our own sovereignty of expression, our own birthright. For each of us have been birthed in our own right through a separate yet equal space of existence, through a birthing canal, one might say. And yet, each of us has different genetics. Each of us has different frameworks in which we express, in which we see. And so when we step forward and we see one another in these separate skin suits, in these separate forms of technology, and yet we recognize that we are all one of the same ocean, of the same sea, from the same space of oneness in the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. We are connected to all things. Yet at what point have we decided to take from another, to remove the opportunity for freedom of choice from another based on our own perspectives held within our own bubble? At what point have we chosen to give our own freedoms away by looking at another and saying, that other is me, therefore I must walk in their shoes. I must eat their food. I must speak their truths. I must speak and operate on their level, for they are better than me. At what point do we point the finger and say, you, who is really me, you, are wrong? And we play with this word for a bit, for we understand that there are those that participate in deeds that are not in love and light. And we may look at those particular beings and recognize that we are not in the same bubble of reality, and that we are not here to make the same choices that they have made. Yet for a moment we choose to speak of those who are listening, who are part of a similar bubble group. We choose to step away from dark and light. Let us step into a collective of a higher collective, if you will, of lesser density, of a more compassionate group of individuals that share the collective experience of the light, love, compassion. From within this framework and from within this bubble, we may look at one another and say, you are wrong. When does this come into our awareness? And what awareness is this that we are looking from, through? Who are we when we point the finger in the direction of another in order to express our truth of that particular light worker, brother, sister, mother, friend, as being unworthy. For when we point the finger in a form of hierarchy, we may not realize through our eyes that that is the expression that we are forming. Yet, what else could it be? For in that moment, we draw ourselves into a different blueprint. And we may be feeling compassion as we point the finger. Yet at the same time, there are other parts of our bubble that expand as we do this. There are other harmonics that we morph into in that moment. And this is not an expression necessarily of centered, heart-centered coherence. For when we begin to point at someone else and through our dictation, dictate to them what it is that we are seeking to express from our own bubble, based on our own experiences, based on our own framework, based on our own knowledge, in this lifetime perhaps. And we could sprinkle in right now other lifetimes as well. For just this example, we morph into something else and we feed, unbeknownst to us perhaps in that moment, what one may refer to as the ego bubble. For when we point our focus onto another body and we become busy with their body, we become what is otherwise known as a busybody. For we are busying ourselves with our focused intent outside of our center of oneness, of unity. For in this moment, as sovereign beings, we are choosing to focus and move another on their path. Move another in the direction that we seek to guide them to. And while this can be a beautiful tool in another paradigm perhaps, we are beyond that. If we should choose to see from this technology, from this skin suit, that we are beyond that. For as we point a finger and grow our ego bubble, we then go through what may be seen as a split from self. For we cannot be an ego and be centered in heart coherence at the same, dare we say, time. And this is happening all across the grids currently. There is a projection that is occurring, a projection from one person's bubble to another. And this is happening under the guise of guides, under the guise of guidance, under the guise of spirituality. And we say this with love because it does not mean that those that are in this space do not have open hearts. And it does not mean that those in this space of pointing a finger at another do not have well-meaning intent. Yet we invite ourselves to ask, is this intent from a pure state of grace, of true compassion and acceptance. Were the finger to be pointed back at us from the other being, would it ring true? For that being would be existing within their own framework, and that being would have a consciousness based on their life experiences. Can we express to another how to mother if we ourselves have not? We are being invited to step back into the space, our own space suit, if you will. For we are in our own recipe of experiential soup. And the invitation is such that when we step back into this space, we recognize that dictation or dictating to another what they should or should not be experiencing, expressing, feeling, how they should be moving, looking, reading, looking up to. We recognize that we lead by example. We lead by finding our own space in which we may hold compassion, coherence, and in this, it holds the key to the harmonization. For harmony can be easily separated into harm many. For compassionate action when we are not moving from a place of grace, a state of balanced perspective, open acceptance, can feel, I'm hearing, abrasive to others. It can cause others to tense up and brace against the blow of the finger. I'm hearing it's the pointed gun. Pew. For we may hold charge. We may hold a certain perspective that is full of validity, that is full of truth, that is full of personal. I'm hearing purse in all, like what we're carrying with us. Like, here you go. Here's a Tic Tac. Here you go. Here's a cough drop. Oh, did you need this? Here you go. But what I'm seeing is that what we're carrying inside of our purse may not be what that other person needs in that moment. But I'm also seeing that there's some that are carrying an old purse. Like, I'm hearing, is it Zoolander? Or something about Mary. Yeah, something about Mary. I can't remember the line, but it's like, it's clearly brie time, baby. Like, you're trying to give me cheddar and it's clearly brie time. And he's trying to do the 6-minute abs versus 7-minute abs, right? Well, what if somebody else comes out with 6-minute abs? No. 7. 6 isn't enough. You need 7. I'm seeing this is what I'm being shown as an example. You guys, spirit is funny. It has humor. So we say be gentle. We say create space. For there are those who have chosen to come here and express and experience certain activities, if you will. And they may be busying their body in everybody else's business. Yet that particular person may be in a space in which they are experiencing a particular energy that is required for them to grow, that is required for them to grow at the rate that they need to, that is required for them to process the information that allows them to grow at a future or potential faster rate. So while what they are choosing may not be what is the choice that we can agree on, that is their sovereignty, and that is their sovereign right to be, as it is our sovereign right to see what it is that we choose to see from our own sea, ocean of experience. For who are you? Who are we? The particles in the ocean, elements moving and forming together to form a reality in which we have the beauty of diversity. Imagine an ocean, self-aware, centered, and sending out through its centered energy waves of acceptance, of love, of perfection and harmony for all of the other particles, elements that are within and held within that fabric, within this fluidity. This offers us a higher capacity for growth. It allows us to expand our own capacity for nurturing, for understanding, for patience, and for the shrinking of the ego, if you will. The meld. This gives us the ability to tap into a higher framework than when we make the choice to dictate to others how to make their choice. When, why, where. We come back to this at the end to remind whoever is tuning into this, that is making the choice to be in this moment, in this space, and listen and feel in these words. There's so much beyond what we even think we know. And as our capacity grows, so too I'm seeing our capacity grows of understanding, so too does our recognition that we are creators. And if we know we are creators, yet our other friends do not, our family, the other bubbles around us, the more we expand our love and the less pushy, I'm hearing pushy, the less we push against another, the softer it flows together, the smoother the transitions become. For it can all change as quickly. And so it is. So I'm probably going to run out of time, but I just wanted to share that as I'm sharing these, I'm seeing all kinds of pictures, and I'm just seeing an ocean of people butting heads. And what the guides were kind of sharing was from one community, and it's a spiritual community. It's the truther community. It's the fractions within the fractions within the fractions. So this is something that many of us are seeing in the collective. And it keeps coming back to what I've been saying. There are those of us who are bridging these two. There's even a rift, right, in these spiritual communities. There's a rift in the scientific communities. There's always been a rift in the political community, but that is only going to continue to get taller and taller and taller and taller. And there are those of us that are just weaving. I see, I see, I see, I see. And integrating as best as we know how, and as best as we choose to. Best is the wrong word, right? Simply the best, better than. It's like merging into that oneness is a little more challenging than many people thought. I'm hearing, so let go of the need to control how another person does it. I'm going to do part 2. In love and light, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste.